Sterling Heights Public Library. Today we're going to be making spinach artichoke dip. Okay, so let's take a moment here and go over some of these ingredients. This is pretty simple. We're not going to need a whole lot of stuff. Comes together really easily. We're going to need some frozen spinach. Chopped works great. Box or bag, doesn't really matter. We're going to need a little garlic, a couple of bricks of cream cheese, some onion. We're not going to need the whole thing. Can of artichoke hearts. They don't need to be the fancy kind. Some Parmesan cheese, a little olive oil, a little black pepper. Now, something to consider. If you've never worked with spinach much in the past, you're going to discover something that spinach is wet. It has a lot of moisture in it. This is true of fresh or frozen. If you're using the frozen stuff, make sure it's thawed before you start this. I'm going to show you a little trick here to get all the water out of it. You ever pack a snowball? Same basic idea. And you can, if this doesn't work so well for you, you can put this in a clean dish towel, not the fuzzy kind, and that will help control it and help you get some of the moisture out of it. But basically, you're going to pack it into a ball. And you're going to squeeze it until you get most of the water out of it. It doesn't have to be bone dry. If you're doing this with fresh spinach, you're probably going to need to steam it a little bit beforehand and let it cool enough that you can handle it, because you'll still need to get the water out of it. That adds an extra step though. And the frozen, I think, is just as good. So that extra water there is gone. So we'll just set that aside for right now. Okay, so we've got our artichokes. Opened the can, drained them. Get those out of there. These are quartered. You can use whole ones, it doesn't really matter. You do want to make sure that they're in nice condition. We are going to be chopping them though, so the physical condition is not as vitally important. So we don't need to do a real fine chop on these. We want to leave some decent sized chunks, but not huge. And these are the kind packed in water, not in oil. I suppose you could use the oil packed ones, but I've never done that for this recipe. It would probably make for a much richer finished product. Every once in a while, with your artichokes, you'll find one that's kind of got some fibrous stuff in it. If you get anything that's kind of feeling a little woody or a little stringy, pick that bit out. So, get the artichokes there. Got a couple of cloves of garlic here. Go ahead and peel those, get those chopped. Fingers out of the way when you're doing this. If you've been following what we've been doing for the last few months, you've probably seen me chop garlic before. But if this is new to you, then hopefully just kind of squish that down a little bit and give it a little bit more. And that just kind of helps break everything up. Just set that off to the side here for a second. I'll worry about putting all this stuff together here in a few minutes. So we're not going to use anywhere near this whole onion. This is a big one, but I'll probably use a little bit less than half of it. And I'll go ahead and get that chopped up. And then we'll transition over to the stove and show you how to put it together. So, go ahead. You want a relatively fine chop on this. It doesn't have to be teeny tiny, but It's going to be better if it's not big old chunks. I got a couple little chunks in there that are maybe a little bigger than I want, so I'll go ahead and just take those up. I'll run across there. And then we'll take a moment here and move over to the stove. Okay, so we're back. I have got about a 3-quart saucepan. You can use a little bit smaller if you want to. On the stove here over about a medium flame. Don't need to put it up real high. We're going to put about a tablespoon olive oil in the bottom of that pan. Give it a moment to warm up a little bit. And then I've got our onion and garlic here. It's probably about 2/3 of a cup of onion. We don't need a ton of it, but we do want to give it some flavor. We're going to let that come together and saute a little bit. We want this to be translucent, but it does not need to be browned. Okay, so we're back. We've had this going for a couple minutes here, and it's starting to get a little translucent. We're going to take a little bit of black pepper. Go ahead and add that in. Probably about a 1/4 teaspoon or so. A few grinds if you're using a grinder. Just give that an opportunity to kind of get a little of that heat in there. It's going to kind of, a lot of times when you add heat to a spice, it kind of helps the flavor open up a little bit. And you'll smell it when you put it in there. I mean, that hits that oil and you're going to smell it instantly. The onions and the garlic are getting fragrant here. We got the black pepper in there. About time to go ahead and add our spinach. So, this isn't going to take very long. We're basically just warming a lot of this stuff through. Go ahead and stir that around a little bit. And as that warms through, we're going to go ahead and add our cream cheese. So, 1 brick, 2 bricks, and then it doesn't have to be pre-softened. You can do it straight out of the fridge. It comes together a little faster if you've let it soften up a little bit by leaving it out on the counter for an hour or so. You don't want to try and soften a brick of cream cheese in your microwave though, because those wrappers are usually made out of foil, and that can be ugly if you don't unwrap them first. So as this warms, that cheese is going to start softening. Everything's going to start coming together. Again, we don't want real high heat on this, so this is only about a medium heat. I might even turn it down a little bit here if we start running into an issue. Just want this to come together nice and uniform. We don't want big gobs of anything in there. You can see how much that's softened up already just as it warms. As that's continuing to warm up a little bit, we're going to take our Parmesan. We're going to need about 2 tablespoons of that. Like so many things, exact measurement is not vital on this. Exact measurements are much more important when you're baking. And you can use whatever kind of Parmesan you've got. I'm just using the stuff in the old green canister, which works pretty good for this. But if you like better quality Parmesan or the shredded stuff, give it a shot. It's going to melt into this anyway, so you're not going to notice whether it's shreds or grates. Okay, so that is softened up nice. Mixed together well. At this point, we're going to go ahead and add our chopped artichokes. And just gently fold those in. You don't want to get real aggressive with the stir on this at this point. Okay, so that is about what I usually do with it. Okay, so what I usually do with this stuff is I basically put it in a bowl and serve it with chips or crackers. Pita chips work really well for this. Goes really good on bagels, especially if you know, you got a nice toasty bagel in the morning and you got some of the stuff left over from the night before and it's cold. I mean, basically it's flavored cream cheese. But we're going to do something a little bit fancier with it today. I am going to go ahead and put this in an oven-proof dish and put it under the broiler with a little bit more Parmesan over the top and run it until it's just kind of golden and bubbly on top. Okay, so I put this under the broiler for about 2 to 3 minutes. I sprinkle a little bit of cheese over the top of it before I did that. You can see it's got a little bit of brown on it. I got some nice pita chips here. And this is going to be pretty fine, I think. Oh yeah. This is an easy one. I think you're going to like this. Give it a shot. Have a good one.